So,
Karla,
Emily.
let's talk about you transitioning.
Transitioning how? I'm just kidding. So, this is our third time trying to record this. I think it's very important to note here because we are having a fucking time trying to do this, but here we are trying it one last time. And oh my god, why is my Apple Watch going up? Okay, boom, we're still recording. Yay! It's literally scaring me. Hold on, I'm gonna try to see if I can take this off and leave it on the table. So that way we can both monitor what it looks. That's cool, ain't it? That's technology for you. Well, welcome to Unreliable
Tangent.
It's in the making, guys. So this is a podcast that, it began as a podcast that I was doing my own thing, and I haven't, no one really knows about it, but it was giving me a lot of relief, so we decided to start our own little thing. Today's episode is going to be very much about us and, how we met and a lot of stuff like that, but future episodes will actually include guests. So do you want to talk about any of the guests that we have coming up?
Yes, my coworker, who I love, she's going to come on and talk about her beliefs. She's Jehovah's Witness, so yes. That'll be interesting. That
would be really interesting, and then we have a lot of things lined up, but today is just really, about how we, had such a, great bond with each other now, I guess you can say, if that's what you want to say. But firstly, me and Emily and I have been friends for many, many years. We actually went to the same high school together, and most of you guys already know this because you already know us. So I came to the school in the end of 7th grade, and so you've been there since K, right?
K.
It was a K through 12 school, guys. So it was a very weird school in the beginning already. Our graduating class in high school was 100.
This is really probably why I like cults so much, because I grew up in one.
You definitely grew up in a. We definitely grew up in a cult. 100 people. Oh my god.
100 people. That's a cult.
That's a hefty cult. I gotta say.
A hefty one.
I mean, I guess a cult has to have one direction though, because we were all kind of
Oh, that's true.
I mean, we were all a little bit.
I'm just saying Princeton is a cult.
Oh yeah, Princeton was definitely a cult.
Okay,
it was definitely a cult.
All
right. So I came in the little last bit of 7th grade. We actually didn't become friends until freshman year, and that actually brings us to the first topic of how we actually met each other. We met each other in soccer. I don't know. I really, honest to God, don't remember if we talked at all in freshman year.
We talked around each other, I'm sure.
I heard her whispering in my ear on the bus on the way to other thing. But I think a funny thing that we were talking about earlier was how we both sucked ass. We loved the sport, not changing anything of it, but we dead ass were bench warmers.
Yeah.
And we loved it.
Yeah.
We loved every second of it. We were the best bench warmers there was. We did get playtime though.
Yeah.
I gotta admit, to be bench warmers, I at least played twice.
Twice.
Until my senior year, I think. Well, of course, they threw me a bone a little bit. I just had thick ass thighs, so I couldn't run as fast.
Yeah, I think senior year, people started. It was you knew if you were gonna have a future with soccer or not.
For sure.
And so it's the people who knew that they actually maybe had a future, they were really, really trying, and then the rest of us.
For sure.
I mean,
for sure.
It was this is fun for me. This is sport fun, hanging out with my friends, and we happen to be doing this sport thing called soccer. But for other people, I think they really, really were super serious about it, and I feel bad. I feel bad that how much I didn't care about
Okay, no, it was painfully obvious you didn't care.
I'm telling you, I feel bad about it now.
No,
now as an adult, it's man, that did suck. I shouldn't have just been such a...
I don't feel as bad. I mean, I cared about it a little bit. I just happened to suck ass, which is hilarious because I'm Hispanic and
I'm just not competitive.
You're not.
I like doing what I want to do. And if you're doing it with me, that's awesome. But
yeah, but then we have 3 girls who went off and got a soccer scholarship.
Yeah, so good for them.
So bless their hearts.
But I should have been on the bench. I deserve to be on the bench.
I second the motion that I was on the bench as well. I'm complete. Mr. Basil, I promise you, I'm holding nothing against you.
Basil,
fucking Basil. I love that man to death. He was so sweet. Do you remember the last little bit of years where we got that spicy Latin coach?
Oh my gosh, yes. I forgot about that. He was cool.
He was really cool. He's really cool. I think he was a little too young.
He was way too young to be hanging out with 18-year-old girls.
Truly bad decision, but he was a blast.
How old was he?
He was never inappropriate. He was very nice. Very
Early
knowledgeable.
30s?
Very early 30s.
But he was fit.
He was a handsome man.
He
was a handsome man, and we all knew it. And we definitely probably made him uncomfortable, and that's probably why he never came back.
Oh, yeah. I know for sure. Bless his heart.
Bless his heart. I'm sure he hates us now. So, like I said, we met in soccer, and then we really, like, the last 3 years, like, I would say junior, sophomore, and seniors, where we were, like, inseparable. We would hang out all the time. She took me to her church, so I was, like, very into church for a very long time. But honestly, for me, it was kind of like soccer. Like, I loved everyone there, and I just wanted to be a part of everything all the time.
Thing.
It was like a social thing, which is horrible.
I'm like that now, too.
It's very horrible, but that's
like,
what it was
going
for
to
me.
work is just like a social thing for me.
100%. Honest to God, I don't even care that I'm getting paid anymore.
I like my coworkers.
I literally will look at my schedule, and if like the favorite, we were just talking about this the other day. Like if my favorite coworkers, I'm like, all right, cool.
Yeah, good to go.
Yeah, but I honest to God contemplate calling out every time there's a bad shift. I'm like, I really don't. Of course I don't. But of course I don't. Like I can't. Physically I cannot. But I think about it. I think about it. That's what matters. Our freaking pen is on top of it. Our high school was a very weird school, though. Honest to God, like we were a small school. We were predominantly Caucasian. We had about literally we calculated like maybe 8 Hispanics in our school.
At what point, though? I think that there was always. I don't know about our graduating class, but it's like it feels like some more people came on later. I don't know. Am I wrong about that? I feel like it was less than 8. That's all I'm saying. Like in the grade.
No, well, you have to imagine. I feel like 2 out of the 8 dropped out, or just didn't go to school, or maybe changed schools or something of the sort. We did have we had a lot more of like Black people versus the Hispanic population, and then we had a lot of we had some mixed folks in there.
But it was mostly whites.
Yeah, it was mostly whites. It was definitely mostly whites. And like I was saying earlier, it was a lot of like people that were like in middle class. So for me before I came to the school, it was like a complete culture shock because of the fact that like my school was predominantly like a minority school before that. So everyone, like not everyone, but I would have to say like at least 80% of the school population, like their parents were in the like lower or lower class. And it was like really weird transitioning to some, like all these people in my mind who were just completely opposite of me, completely like different backgrounds, different occupations that they're in. Like before that, like my friends, like their occupations were like, oh, one was a mechanic or they were like trade jobs. And like coming here, it was like educational jobs, like, teachers and welders and stuff like that. Well, that's a trade too. But doctors and sheriff's officers and all that good stuff. So it was a very big transition for me. Thankfully, very quickly, I learned that it wasn't as scary. Like, the people were a lot more welcoming than I expected. And, of course, at the beginning, it was easier for me, though, because I would, like, migrate to the minorities. But eventually I got out of my zone because, obviously, I got Emily, a Caucasian female, in front of me. And we were, like, inseparable.
Do you think your personality changed at that point? Like, do you think that there was, like, what happened? Do you feel like it had a positive impact on you to have to be in such a different
Do you know that before I went to this school, well, let me tell you why it had a positive impact for me. I came from a school that, like, I was in, it was a predominantly minority school, but it was also a school where there were not that many Hispanics as well. So what would happen, I don't know what it was. I felt like there was like literally me and my sister were the only ones that were like of Hispanic descent in the school. And I just felt like I was personally like in my grade, I was just felt targeted and I was bullied very, very heavily. So like obviously coming to a school where I wasn't bullied, and not only, I think it was a perfect transition in my life because not only was I not bullied in school, but I feel like I wasn't bullied because at one school I was like targeted for my race in a bad way, and in another school I was like the cool one because of my race. Like people actually idolized it because they have never
novelty.
Like, yeah, no one sees it very often. So it was super weird to have people like actually be interested in me and not just like write me off, I guess, automatically. So it was very, I think it definitely had a positive impact. I was failing my grade before I came to Princeton. Like I was doing horrible. I was like, first off, this is around the time my father had passed away too.
Yeah.
So I mean, granted, I definitely was struggling in school, but I just had a really hard time concentrating. Nothing interests me. I honestly could not get my surroundings like out of my head. You know what I mean? Like I would be sitting in class thinking about like, oh my god, like I would literally overthink about the transition to my next class where I have to pass this one girl who's gonna say something mean to me or push me.
Holy cow.
Or you know what I mean? Like it was like I was living my life in fear. But not in like a life threatening way, but just, you know, it's still anxiety and still fear. Yeah. So then going to a school where I actually was like left alone or people find me interesting, it gave me like new motivation and my grades skyrocketed. Like I actually cared about my life. It completely changed me for the better. Like, it's the best thing that's ever happened to me. So, I think it's always weird hearing people that we went to high school with, and they... Not weird, of course. Everyone has their own experience. But people who say they hate our high school, or they hate high school in general, it's like, I don't know. I just think it's such a, like, crucial point in your life of growing and, like, being who you're gonna... Like, honestly, God, I feel like I'm the same person I was in high school. I just, like, grew up. And that's how it should be. But I feel like, I don't know, it's just, I mean, that's just a weird thought of mine. I don't understand why people say they hate their high school. Because even if you have a bad experience, even in, like, in middle school, I had a bad experience, but I don't hate it. Like, I'm glad it happened to me. I'm glad, because it toughened me up. I dare a bitch to push me now.
I think that when people say that they hate it, I think it's more like they hated the experience that they had during that time. Because, like... I mean, clearly, I think most people are depressed and anxious and all that in, like, middle school and high school because there's just a lot going on. Some people aren't. Like, there were some people who had a really, really good time, so... But I feel like I was just not in the best place in life, and I don't think that there's anything that I could have done to... I mean, I'm not angry about it or anything, but just knowing that I can be happier... It makes high school feel like, oh my god, yeah, I would not go back to high school because, like, it's not necessarily the circumstances, it's just how I'm feeling at the time.
I mean, I guess you're right. That is true. It makes sense. I don't know. Like I said, I think it was a learning experience for everyone, and it's important to see the positive outlook on even the most negative situations.
Yeah, for sure.
But after high school, it was pretty weird because we went... How long did we say?
Like 5 years?
5 years without talking? Or, like, not being consistent?
Seriously talking, probably.
Shit. I mean, we went from, like I said, her parents practically raising me, like, being at her house 24/7, being inseparable. And it wasn't, like, don't get me wrong, it wasn't something where we just stopped talking on purpose. Like, it was just, we were doing our own thing. We both understood it. We both were very understanding of it. And at that time, it was when, like, my other friend had moved to Oregon, and then another friend had started a family, so it just wasn't a good time for anybody, so it was, like, the most, I guess, like, for me personally, I guess this is where I can just start talking about, like, how it was for me during that 5-year point of not speaking to anyone, really, and it was, like, really relying on my husband to, like, have my back, because I didn't have, like, my trifecta of friends. Even though it's really weird, I have 3, like, great friends that I grew up with, but none of them ever intertwined like that. Like, you never really hung out with Catherine, and Catherine never really hung out with Jenna, but you guys were all, like, a huge role in my life, but it's so weird how we never really intertwined paths until hopefully very soon. Well, now, like, Jenna is really, she's going to be our guest next week. She's been coming into our lives more often now, and that's been a great mix.
She's so cool.
I love that.
I like
have
Jenna
definitely loved having Jenna around. But then...
I know, right? Oh no. Oh no.
I'm good.
Is it good? Okay, cool.
I'm good. We gotta check this every fucking 5 minutes because it's gonna drive me insane if this thing stops recording. So for me, it was just a very dark period in my life. But I chose after high school. What I personally decided to do was I went to a community college. It was way too overwhelming for me. Ended up dropping out. A very, very bad time in my life. But I ended up transitioning into the workforce, and then I got really lucky and just kind of worked my tail off. And I ended up working for the first company that I really, really, truly worked for like 5 years, 5.5 almost. And at that job, it kind of skyrocketed. Like my next couple positions, and like 2 positions later, I'm where I'm at now. But it gave me really my business background, so I'm very grateful, like I said, for that period of my life, no matter what. And plus, like, I'm a whole different person now, of course, on how I deal with the stuff that I'm like given, I guess you can say. But how was like after high school for you?
Well, I went to NC State.
You
and
did?
After one semester, I dropped out of that.
Did you really? I never knew
I
that.
hated it. It was so weird because, like, you know how you were saying, like, I've literally gone to the same school from kindergarten through 12th grade. And so I've got, like, all these friends, like, everybody around me I've known literally, like, my entire life.
Your entire life.
And so then I go to NC State, and there was nobody. Like, it was a massive, like, transition for me. And so, and then my parents had just moved at the same time. They moved to South Carolina. I moved off to school. And we sold our house that I grew up in and everything. So it was just crazy. And then, so I decided to come back to our town and go to community college. And I loved community college. I was like, I'm very, very proud that I got to go to our community college here in town. And then from there, I went off to the College of Charleston for about 2 years and lived in Charleston. And that was fun because I definitely met an entirely new group of people. Like,
really?
Because Charleston is funny because it's like Charleston is this liberal hub in South Carolina. So, like, South Carolina is known, like, it's clearly a red state. But Charleston is super, super liberal. They're like California liberal. And so I got to meet just so many different people with just, like, I don't know. Yeah, it made me definitely question everything, which I was always a questioner. So
yeah,
it kind of just, like, took it to another level and everything. And so, yeah, then I have been working ever since and traveling a bit. And, yeah.
I do remember the time we both moved away from our, like, little hometown. I personally, like, I didn't move too far. I would say about 45 minutes down the road. But it was, even 45 minutes is, like, insane because it was, like, another city and it was bigger. Anything's bigger than Princeton. Yeah. But it was obviously way bigger. And then she was also moved out. But I felt like, so when did you move back to this area? Like, because I personally moved back 3 years ago. So there came a point where we both moved back.
Mm-hmm.
And so I know I moved back first. I do know that, I think, if I'm not mistaken. And
I moved back here after I graduated. And I graduated in December of 2015. So that, then I came back here for like a few weeks in January. And then I left for 3 months traveling. And then I came back in May or March in March. And my grandma passed in that May. So it was like my birthday, and my grandma passed, and it was just like this chaotic little time period. And then, yeah.
Okay, so I think we probably moved back at around the same time then. So I remember moving back into town, and I think it took me, because when I moved back into town, it was with, like, roommates that I've had before I lived in the previous city. And so the first year, I really didn't communicate with anyone. I don't think you may have not been, like, as out as you were. But then, like, you know what I mean? Like, I think you had to come back, but you weren't, like, you were, like, silently doing your own thing.
I was silently doing my own thing. That was so weird. Yeah, like, people would stop me in the grocery store or something. They'd be like, "Oh my God, are you in town?" And I'd be like, "Yeah, I've moved back." And they're like, "Oh my God, how long have you been here?" Like, 2 years. Like, it was so embarrassing, like, because I wasn't really participating in life. I was just super
for
depressed.
sure.
I was trying to get my crap together, and I was depressed, and it was taking me some time to figure some stuff out. So
I get you, sister. I've been there, done that. But I remember, like, after that, I had a situation where, like, all my roommates moved out, and it was just kind of, like, Donnie and I remember, like, I don't remember if you were the first person. I know you were the first person I'd hung out with in a very long time. I go to Oregon very often to see, like, my other friend that I graduated with, but it was, like, you and your cousin and, like, our friend Buddy, like, Jake and Buddy.
Yeah.
Like, that's whenever we, like, started reconnecting.
that's exactly it.
It was a random, like, thing, I think.
That
where we
summer.
were just like, yeah, you want to go out for drinks? And then we literally went out for drinks every Saturday for, like, 2 fucking months. Like, straight, like, literally every Saturday we were
Let's
locals.
go.
We literally became locals in a matter of a month. Like,
that is exactly it. We became locals at that point when we started actually. Yep. Like, because a lot of times I would go to, like, Raleigh to go out with friends and stuff like that. But I would be like, there's nothing to do around here. What am I going to do around here? But then at that point, it's like I started appreciating all the little local businesses. And I'm like, yeah, it's here for us. Like,
seriously, I think that was my biggest thing whenever I started hanging out with you guys is, like, seeing the local businesses and, like, going out and traveling and, like, going to, like, a small little bar.
Yeah,
and
trying to
seeing,
support.
Like, everyone know each other and, like, you'll see, like, pictures on the wall of
stuff.
locals. It makes you feel, like, wholesome and makes you want to feel a part of it. And I guess, like, when we went to our, like, local bar, it felt like that. Like, for me, at least, it still does. Like, it feels like just, like, something homegrown, like, a little nest egg that we only know about or, like, we only care about. And it was really fun. But we did it for, like, every Saturday for, like, 2 months. I mean, our liver fucking hated us.
Yes.
And then eventually it got to the point, like, we dropped off a little while. We stopped kind of all hanging out for a little bit. But it was only for, like, a month, maybe. And then that's when you and I were like, we don't really need anyone else. Because we would always hang out on our own, I felt like.
You know what? It was that day when our friend that I work with, she wanted to hang out with me and you. And we went to that place in Goldsboro. Remember, we were out. It was outdoors. They were having that summer thing.
Yeah.
And that's when
we have, like, a little summer alley concert thing.
Whatever. That was when we, like, reconnected again.
That is so
there was
true.
that moment, too, where she got in on that.
That is true. And then, like, it was literally just for us. Like, it was, like, we weren't even we were there for something else, and we ended up, like, really connecting again, and we were like, all right, screw it. And then after that, we went on another binge of, like, going out together and, like, hanging out. And eventually, it's, like, what it is now, where we just, like, literally, we are inseparable. We can't stop, like, hanging out with each other. We go to Trader Joe's, like, 2 nice little lesbians. It's perfect.
Yes.
Like, we just get everything done.
Go plant shopping.
Plant shopping. You know you're married when you're plant shopping.
So good.
It's so
Imagining the backyard together. Or we could put a fence up like this. I'm thinking we need pavers on the ground, right outside the doorway.
I
really do want, seriously, I want a stepping stone type thing.
I just say my camera is closed. Oh no, it's still recording.
Okay.
We're at a good timing, by the way. It's 24 minutes.
Awesome. I just want to tell you, though, I really want stepping stones going around into the back.
Okay.
And I looked up the other day how much it would cost to get a sauna. It would be like $3,000 to get a sauna.
I'm not going to talk to you about your poor money decisions. Anyway. So now that we talked about, like, what we did after high school, like what are we currently doing? Like, what's our moves that we're on?
Dude, I don't know what the next move is.
Okay, so I would say current me has definitely, like, become more creative. Like, at the end of the day, people always like to say, like, they don't have time for things. Like, I don't have time to do this. Like, I love to paint, but I don't have time for it. It's like...
Hold that thought. I'm gonna go... I have to pee. Hey, but I can hear you, though. Go ahead.
Okay. So, like, like people always make excuses for not wanting to do things, and for me and my personally, like I used to be the same kind of person. So whenever I decided, like one day I just like woke up and decided like I'm going to make time for the things that I care about. I'm gonna make time because I was going through a very emotional state, like I had mentioned before, where I was like really at a low point in my life. So I had to find, like I had literally had to seek out ways to like make myself better. And one of the ways was through like artistic expression, and it was just like I'm trash at painting, dude. Like I'm not great. I'm not like a super talented artist, you know. Like I'm not a Picasso. I'm not anything worth shit. But for me, I get by. You know what I mean? Like what it does for me, or what it like does for my soul, is really all I care about. So for me, like I would have to say like the current Karla is definitely dealing with things a lot more openly. It's definitely finding new outlets, more positive outlets for things, because before it was things that were no good for me. And definitely just like the outlook on the future. I gotta be honest with you, like I used to like not see myself past the age of 25. Like it's a weird thing. It's a weird thing to conceptualize, but honest to God, like I was like, I could not imagine my life past 25. And now I would have to say, like, since I've like met you, I would probably say, or like since we've reconnected and really become like closer, like I feel like the current us, like the past couple months us, has been the best version of us.
100. It's been the best version of me.
And the best version of me, so it's the best version of us. Like, honest to God, because now I can finally see, like, 5 years from now. Like, the businesses we own, the things we will do, the houses we shall buy.
Yeah, seriously.
The communes we shall build.
You know, I was just thinking about that whenever we were kind of just discussing this podcast, and just, like, what is the point? Like, why are we even doing this? And the whole thing is like, the podcast may be absolute crap. Like, it may be just a completely nothing thing. But the conversations that we have here, you know what I mean? Like, we're going to have conversations like we had today about creating a studio /hostel /store. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, we're going to have all these crazy ideas, and we're going to make moves, like, regardless of if this works, or regardless of if the hostel thing, maybe that never happens, right?
Yeah.
But we're going to, like, try to flesh it out and try to be creative and be our best selves.
I gotta say, like, we very much have been, like, inspiration for each other.
Yeah.
I would have to say, like, I have, like, she is a true, like, when I think back on like things that I need to do, I think about like it's like almost like what would Emily do? Because honest to God, like
we gotta get bracelets. We gotta get bracelets. WWED.
That's actually perfect. But definitely like I think about it and I'm like, Emily would totally do this. Emily would totally execute. This is why we are unreliable. Because left alone, we would never get anything done. We have no motivation for anything. But with each other to rely on, like we held each other accountable to it, so it's really nice. So like I said, even this podcast doesn't really turn out to be shit. It doesn't matter, because it's the same reason why I do my podcast on its own. Like I don't advertise it to anyone. I don't really want anyone to listen to it. It's literally for me to look back in the future and say like, damn,
it's like a diary.
That's how I thought. And this could be a diary for us. Like, fuck everyone else. Like, we're happy. We are finally doing things in life that mean something and that are gonna have lifelong effects. Like, who cares what anybody thinks?
We're happy.
I don't care what anybody thinks.
Me either.
That's why I'm doing it.